And welcome back to another video. In this video I will be creating the material for the grass that we created in the last video. So to start off with, I'm just going to go ahead and go in the Foliage tab. I'm going to create a new folder called Materials. And create a new material within it. Call it the Foliage Master material. Alright, and now what I'm going to do now is actually create a parameter. This one's going to be a vector parameter, and I'm going to name it grass color. Okay. But what I'm going to do right here is it's not going to just be a plain color, because that would just be dull. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to duplicate that. We'll copy and paste it below it. And this one right here is going to be the gradient color. Gradient. Alrighty. And what I'm going to do is actually I want to linear interpolate these. Alrighty. So right below it, I'm going to actually create a linear gradient. Ooh, that's definitely not how you spell that. Right here, linear gradient. Just create it, and then I'm going to come off of the V gradient and hit multiply that, and right here I'm going to create a parameter, and this is going to be the strength of it. I'm going to create a saturant of that one, and then what I'm going to do now is I can actually plug this in right here, plug that into this. And then what I also want to do is I also want some more variation of colors. So actually I'm going to take this and actually copy and paste it again. And this thing right here is actually going to be the variant color. And I'm actually going to linear interpolate this one, and I'm going to use the same color as the one before for that one. And plug that into the saturate one. Alrighty. And another thing, what I'm going to do for this one right here is actually just go ahead and I need to loop these two right here together. So just go ahead and do that, and then I can go plug this in right here into that. And for this part, add a world position offset. Absolute world position, so just go ahead and select it in there. And then I'm going to divide this. And create a parameter and name it variation texture scale. And I'm going to create a component mask. And add a texture sampler in it. Now what this right here is going to do is it's just going to give a little bit more variation to it, to each individual color or whatever. So just you can plug this in right here up into the alpha of this. And what we're going to put right here is actually, I'm just going to use the pooling noise for that right there. Yeah. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it into that to see kind of how it looks. And this one right here, I'm just going to add a light green color to that. Just to kind of give it a little bit of something. I'm actually going to create a material instance off of that too. I'm going to create this in grass 1 instance. And drag and drop it into that. Now you can see right here exactly what's going on with the gradient color. I'm just going to put the gradient right here, probably about, I would say 1.2 maybe. Gotta do 1.2. And then the texture scale of it, I'm going to create this in and you can see right here, you can kind of see on the tips of the branches it moving around. Yeah, I like that for now, so I'm just going to create this and add it a 50. Yeah, I think that'll do pretty good for now. Don't put that back up there. And now for the next part of what I'm going to do is actually this right here. We really can't fool with it too much in this one, only because this is actually going to be for whenever you actually have a lot of grass. You can actually kind of tell what's going on. But I'm gonna go ahead and implement it in now, so we ain't gonna do it later. But just go ahead and create a lerp off of this one. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to bring these two right here down a little bit, and I'm going to add another color. So just copy and paste that one and put it right underneath it. And this one right here is actually going to be the wind variant. Alrighty. And for this one right here, you have to lerp it the exact same way you did those up there. and then of course by the green. This right here, I'm gonna add it as, I'm gonna make it bright yellow, just to make it kind of stick out for now. Create a loop, and then I'm going to plug this one right here into that. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's right. And I'm going to come down here below this one. I'm actually going to put an absolute word position in this one too. I'm going to divide. Wind, texture, scale. And add another component mask to that one. And what I'm going to do right here is actually I'm going to put a panner right there, and pretty much what this is going to be for is so it'll have the like move, so the way it actually implements the wind. So I'm going to append this, yeah, append vector, and off of these I'm actually going to add a speed U, and speed V. And the reason why it's U and V, if you look up here, you can see the U gradient, V gradient. And now for this one right here, I'm going to create another texture sampler, and just add that right there. Now this right here, I looked for a few minutes a minute ago. I could not find a very good texture to use, but I do have one from another project I was working on. I cannot put this in the description to download because this is technically not mine. So I'm mainly just using this for educational purposes only. But where's it at? Here we go, the wave noise texture. And then I'm just going to apply it into there. But you can use any kind of noise texture similar to this. It ain't gotta necessarily be like this, but it's similar to it. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this one right here up into the alpha of this, and then you can finally, and instead of using this, I'm going to create a make material attributes, and then plug it into this. And for this right here, I will actually have to change something. Instead of how you pronounce that, put it as masked. And then also it needs to be two-sided and use material attributes. Alrighty, and now what I'm going to do is actually, now that's mainly just the actual color of it, or the texture of it is completed. But now what I'm going to do is actually take this and multiply that. By the, I'm going to name this the wind controller. And for this one right here, I'm going to add a simple grass wind. plug the additional WPO into the multiply node right here. And then for these, all I'm going to do right here is just promote those to parameter and just stick those out of the way. And now I'm going to lerp this as well. Not that one. Yeah, linear interpolate that. I'm going to stick this into the top one. And then the bottom one, I'm going to do a vertex color. Actually, that's supposed to be the alpha, not the B. For the B, all I'm going to do is I'm going to break that link right there. And then I'm just going to add a... actually, I'm just going to do a constant because you really don't need to change this. And so I'm going to do a constant of 0 and plug it in. And now just go ahead and plug this into world position offset on the right here, so it should be right there. Alrighty. And now the last thing that I'm actually going to do is, if you look at it from right, let me go ahead and just was it foliage right here. So if you look at it right there, you can see a big issue on the you can see a big issue. If you look at the bottom of it right there, you can see it's a sharp edge right there, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do to fix that one is actually come back up to right here, and where it says the pixel depth offset, come off of it. Well, I'm going to add a dither right here. And multiply that. Yeah, and create a parameter off of this, and I'm going to name it pixel depth offset. Alrighty. I'm going to bring the instance down and just do a little bit of tweaking on some of the stuff. Actually, first, another thing that I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to kind of put all these in categories so I don't make a complete mess of it. I'm going to name these as groups as wind. Put that as wind. And this right here, I'm going to just add those two as texture. Yeah, texture. And then for this one right here, yeah, for this one, I'm going to name it pixel depth. Alright, so now go back over into, I'm going to go back over into this right here, and then, whatever, yeah, oh, there it is. Yeah, now for this right here, the gradient, I'm going to leave that alone, all the colors anyways. But you can see the pixel depth offset. You can kind of see the effect that it has on it. And you can't do it too much, so I'm going to go with 5. Yeah, you can see right here it's not a sharp edge anymore. But if you do too much, it's going to begin to be like see-through or whatever, and you don't want that. So you need to keep it relatively small. So I'm going to do 0.5 or not point, but five, I'm gonna do 5. And then for the gradient strength, that's all good for now. Wind controller, all of the wind, I'm gonna go ahead and just put numbers in it. For you, I'm gonna do 0.01, and for the next one, I'm going to do 0.001. This one I'm just gonna do 1. Alright. Alrighty, and well, alright, and the final thing that I'm going to do in this one is actually implement a system for the, in case if we have to have a opacity mask any. And what I'm going to do for this one is actually, it's pretty simple actually. For like this right here, we do not need an opacity mask because it's all one color, or we actually sculpted out the grass blade. But for stuff a little bit more complex, we will actually use a photo editor to kind of sculpt out a object whatever and then color that object. So what I'm going to do right here is actually, and we'll use an opacity mask for that. It just pretty much like does a shape of it. Anyways, I'll do a texture sample. I'll just do the texture sampler, and then I will do a switch. And what the switch does is actually just cuts it on and off. You can put like a boolean, which is a true or false statement. Yeah, it's just pretty much a true or false statement saying that if the if the opacity, if it needs an opacity mask, you can cut it on and it will use it, but if it does not need an opacity mask, it will not use it. So what I'm going to do right here is actually create another I'll do a constant. I'll just do a constant, plug it into that. Except for this right here, I would do it as 1. And default value is actually going to be false. And I would just plug it into the opacity mask. So in other words, if this right here is true, then it will use the opacity mask. And if it's not true, then it'll just make it as 1, so therefore it won't be no opacity mask. Alrighty, I think that'll be about it on this one. Now, one more thing that for some reason, I don't know why it's not working, so I have to kind of play around with it a little bit, but it's supposed to have a wind effect on it, and it's not doing it for some reason right now. But ain't no big deal, because I really don't need that just yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end the video here, and I'll fix that in the next video. So I'll just go ahead and end it right here, and don't forget to save it too, and I'll see y'all next time.